marginalized and vilified, which unfortunately results in a lack of culturally relevant and medically accurate information that could enhance the lives of women of color, sexually, mentally, physically, and spiritually. We intend to foster a safe environment where women who are often overlooked, underheard, or misrepresented can speak freely about their sexuality and sex. So here at Otero County Community Health Council, we believe everyone deserves to have a seat at the table and have their voices heard. So today we are speaking with Jade Kearney, the co-founder and CEO of She Matters. So thank you for joining us today, Jade. And can you tell us more about She Matters and the work that you all do?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. She Matters is a digital health platform designed to support Black mothers who experience postpartum comorbidities, such as postpartum mental illness, postpartum blood pressure complications from preeclampsia, eclampsia, or HELP, hemorrhaging, and other comorbidities that come out of pregnancy. Additionally, we train healthcare professionals on how to be culturally competent, and we do that with our culturally competent certification. And what that does is it helps healthcare professionals decrease Black maternal morbidity by better meeting the needs and opening communication with Black moms.
Thank you, Jay. Did you want to give a little bit of background on who you are and how you got started with She Matters?
Absolutely. So I'm a mom of four as well. I have two daughters, and I just had a set of twins 6 weeks ago, 2 boys, 2 girls. And I started She Matters after my journey with postpartum anxiety, OCD. And what that is, it's like ruminating thoughts. So I had my first daughter at 33. Thought I was ready for her and prepared. I ended up with preeclampsia in the delivery room and thought that, coming out of the hospital, we were good. Everything was great. We made it both out alive. I had preeclampsia. I was afraid of it, but ended up getting through it. So the hard work was done. But little did I know, the hard work really started the moment I left the hospital and I started my postpartum journey. And really because there was very little information for me as a Black woman to kind of own that space around fear, around pain, and around mental health because of the stigma in Black communities around mental illness, right? So I started to have postpartum anxiety, OCD, and those are ruminating negative thoughts. So I kept thinking, what if I drop her? What if I stab her? What if I let go of the stroller when I'm walking down the street? And all these thoughts were plaguing me, and I had so much shame. So I went to my mom, and my mom said, well, I had postpartum depression with your brother, and I got through it eventually. It took about 6 months, but I didn't do anything for it because I had other kids. And as Black women, we just need to move through things. My cousin mentioned me being too old for my first child. So I didn't get any help there. I felt a lot of shame because I felt like I was failing cultural norms of being a good mom. And then I went to healthcare professionals, and the first thing that they tried to do was give me an antidepressant, or SSRIs, what they're known as. And I wasn't comfortable with that just right away. I needed to be talked to, and I needed someone to care about what I was feeling before prescribing me anything. And so I was prescribed Zoloft, and I never picked it up. So here I was just in this space of intense shame and suffering, and I couldn't get any answers. I didn't know what was happening. I went online and I found all these communities of Black moms talking about what I was experiencing. And that's how I understood it to be OCD. But there weren't any Black mom groups that were sharing this level of information, that was sharing the shame, that was sharing the suffering. And so all of that led me to create She Matters. Really a place where Black women could be vulnerable with each other to help negate stereotypes around postpartum mental illness and pain and shame, and a place where healthcare professionals could learn about who we are and how to treat us. So opening the lines of communication, because that's what I was missing. I wasn't able to communicate with my community, and I wasn't able to communicate with healthcare professionals.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that with us, Jade. Well, I mean, really a personal look into suffering in silence, you know. So my first question I have for you, piggybacking off of that, is, so your mission at She Matters is to improve the health outcomes for Black women. On your website, you have listed a statistic that says Black women are 57% less likely to start treatment for postpartum depression. So in what ways are Black women and women of color in general at risk when it comes to their sexual health, and what can be done about that from the internal standpoint and self-advocacy lens when they're discussing their concerns about their bodies with their doctors, such as birth control, egg preservation, untraditional pregnancy desires, and menopause? Do you have any advice on that?
Figure out what the laws are where we are. I think we start with the law. What can I legally do here, and what can I legally do? Why can I do that? And figure out if it's something like an unplanned pregnancy, where can you go? Where can you go and be supported? Not just where can you go, right? Find your people, look for resources, especially if you're LGBTQ plus trans, and see what other folks in your community are doing, right? Read about what other folks have done in your same position. That's how I got here. I just really Googled. We can all Google search, right? So if you're dealing with something like infertility, see what the rights and laws and resources are around that. If you're dealing with something like menopause, figure out what people are, look online, go to those different resource hubs and figure out what different people are doing, and go to your healthcare provider with information so they know that you know what can and cannot be done. That's, for me, empowering yourself with information is the way that you get the best care. Because if a healthcare provider understands that you didn't come there without looking into things, that you understand the law, you understand, and on a surface level, but you understand the state regulations and what can and cannot be done, they have very little wiggle room to, one, disrespect you, and to, two, give you procedures or give you options that don't align with your morals, that don't align with your sexuality, that don't align with where you are mentally.
Thank you, Jade. So it sounds like prioritizing education and information is something that you really try to promote with your clients. So I'm going to kind of piggyback off of what you just said with my next question. So in 2022, the AAMC Center for Health Justice conducted a national poll of people in the United States that had given birth in the last 5 years. So this poll asked questions regarding pregnancy, birth, and postpartum experiences. And about 13% of the sample identified with the LGBTQ plus community. And about 30% of those LGBTQ plus individuals reported having a less than good experience when asked to describe the overall childbirth experience as compared to their cisgender heterosexual counterparts, which is at 18%. So this report also states that over a third, so about 37% of people who are Black, Hispanic, younger, with lower income, or are LGBTQ plus were more likely to feel that their care was affected by experiences of bias or discrimination. So in addition to the education and advocacy work, how does She Matters support women of color with those intersecting identities that compound their experience with bias and discrimination during pregnancy, birth, and postpartum?
We offer our culturally competent certification to healthcare providers to meet Black women where they are, regardless of sexual orientation, regardless of ethnicity. We empower women to give feedback, almost like a review, a Yelp for Black moms, right? So we put the power in our own hands. And if you met a doctor that didn't respect your boundaries, that didn't respect your identity, you can definitely leave a survey response about your experience with them. I think the biggest thing is that we have to start saying when things are happening to us, when people are disrespectful to us. We have to be empowered to open our mouths and not just walk away and say, you know what, that was really disrespectful, I'm upset. No, because if you had a negative experience, someone that looks like you, or someone who has the same sexual preferences as you, or background experiences as you, may have had that same experience. And it is unfair that people who continuously disrespect, neglect, and really abuse their position are able to get away with so many things, because there's somewhere in our lineage that says our voice doesn't matter. So what we do at She Matters is we make sure that our healthcare providers are certified, but we also make sure that our moms, regardless of who, where, what is going on in your life, no matter what all of your isms are or may be, you were given the opportunity to speak, to be heard, right? And to ask questions.
Wow, I just got chills listening to you, putting the power back in their hands. So empowering. So from your blog titled Cultivating Positive Self-Talk and Self-Compassion, it states that self-compassion is an important component of self-care, and it can play a critical role in helping us feel empowered. So what are some ways that women of color can practice self-compassion in their daily lives?
I think taking time for silence. Culturally, I think one way we do self-care is we get our hair done, we get our nails done, that's a big thing for us. But I always want to dig deeper. Like, when are you silent and still? When are you able to self-reflect? When are you able to think about what you need to be happy, if you're happy? A lot of times we're just in the motion, we're going, and we never stop to check in with ourselves. So I think little moments of mindfulness and checking in and making sure that before you go get your hair done, you're in a good place. Before you go get your nails done, you're in a good place. You understand? I think I love that our upkeep is part of our self-care. But I want to make sure that before we go do those things, we're in the best state of mind.
I'm loving what you're saying, because I think that, a lot of people think that, self-care is, oh, well, let me schedule time to go for a walk. Let me do this. But really sitting with yourself and figuring out what is going to be the best for you. I think self-discipline is also part of self-care. And as you said, really discovering what's going to be best for you. Are you going to be in the right state of mind? What's working, what's not working? That's part of caring for yourself and prioritizing yourself. And I love that you mentioned, sitting with yourself, silence, because that's really hard. That is very, very difficult to sit with yourself and to confront all these different flaws that you have and make that decision of whether or not to continue forward with these traits that you have, and to decide if they're serving you in the best way. And that's very, very difficult, but people owe it to themselves to sit with themselves, to understand themselves better so they know what they need in order to live a fulfilled life.
I totally agree. If you don't know what you want, how can you make sure that you're receiving what you need?
I absolutely love that, Jade. Thank you so much for sharing that. And before I go into our final and last question, I wanted to just kind of highlight some of the things you were saying before about knowing the law. And when it comes to self-advocating for yourself, when you're with your physician or your PCP, a lot of people don't understand when we're advocating, like you see the signs behind me, Kayla, why does voting matter, or what does it have to do with my health? You know, why are you so concerned about, you know, if I'm registered to vote, if that's a question that is asked at a healthcare setting. And we were privileged enough to be a part of a Vote ER fellowship, and it's a nonpartisan nonprofit that's working to integrate civic engagement into healthcare. And I just think it's so important, especially also highlighting another thing you said about when we have family discouragement, and sometimes they don't intend to discourage us for advocating for ourselves, but because we have been so it has been so instilled and ingrained in us to suck it up, or, you know, be strong women, or the strong Black woman, even that sentiment, or one, you know, woman of color, you know, we can handle so much more instead of advocating for ourselves that we're in pain. I don't feel comfortable with this, or just having a concern, and instead of it feeling like we're advocating for ourselves, maybe complaining, but those are not in the same category. So I really appreciate you highlighting that to show how they are connected, and that self-advocacy, knowing the law, and being able to express what you need, knowing what you're not going to do, and knowing all, you know, you are familiar with your laws, with your physician, is so important. And so we kind of just wanted to know, how can women of color express a lack of sexual desire and interest in sexual exploration and be taken seriously with non-judgment by their physicians and their partners, since we talk about kind of a family discouragement or maternal issues, or even postpartum? How can they, or how can we express a lack of those feelings? And
It's very interesting that you say that, because I just dealt with that being pregnant with twins, and being extreme. I was in a lot of pain, had a lot of pelvic pain. You know, I'm almost 40. It was a different pregnancy for me. And I had to constantly communicate with my partner that I just wasn't there. You know, like, this is, I really, I'm in pain. I think the transparency around what you're feeling, instead of just accepting the stereotype, I need to do this, I'm supposed to do this. No, talk to your healthcare provider and say, this is what I'm feeling. This is where I'm at right now, and I'm not comfortable here. So what can I do, or what can we do together? What type of plan can we come up with to make sure that the next time I see you, I feel differently? And I think when you put the onus on teamwork, that changes the relationship that you have with your healthcare provider, because you aren't simply just asking them to figure it out for you. You're saying, what kind of plan can we come up with so that I can navigate the space that I'm in? Because my sexual health is just as important as, you know, other things. My nutrition, it's all a part of my body, and I want to be taken seriously. The autonomy to say that I am worthy of having positive sexual experiences, and is hard for any woman, and any woman, any group of women. But for us, it's taken away from us. So by making it a team effort, I think that will that often sparks not is it a word I'm looking for, an activity, action from your healthcare provider. Now with your partner, you have to trust that you have a partner that cares about how you feel. Because if you are not feeling sexual, if you are not feeling healthy in your sexuality, if you aren't feeling up to being intimate in that way, you have to communicate with your partner about what you're experiencing, and then they have to respect it, right? Find other ways to be intimate, and or talk about ways that, or creative ways to get where you want to be, right? Whether that is, hey, come to the doctor with me, or whether it is, let's try something different, or whether it is, I really need just like space with you, right? You have to connect with your partner on that level, own where you are, and demand respect in how confidently you talk about how you care about your own needs. This is important to me. I want to feel great. I want us to have this great relationship and this great partnership, but I can't do that right now. So how can we work together, or how can you support me through this? Because I want you to know it's a me thing, not a you thing.
I can feel the passion through the computer, and I can hear it in your voice. So we really appreciate you. And if our listeners, if you'd like to get more any information on She Matters and the topics that we've discussed, check our description box on YouTube. We'll have that website and information listed. And we want to end with our mission and our vision of the Otero County Community Health Council. And it's for Otero County to be a place where all people have a fair and just opportunity to be as healthy as possible. Our mission is to promote practices, programs, and policies that advance health equity in our county. We hope this Women of Color Empowerment Series reaches our Otero County residents and beyond. We are a community here, and this is your safe space. Your voice matters. So we want to hear your thoughts on a couple questions.
All right, so we want to know how you, the viewer, cultivates self-compassion and how you practice self-care in your own lives. And what are some resources you wish you had access to when you first became a mother, or even now as a mother? So leave a comment below and we'll share your thoughts in the upcoming segments. Thank you for joining.